Okay, here is how I modify my U.S. Army Skita tent. Here's a look at the back side of it. But comes in these little stuff sacks with Velcro on the top. And so here's how I modify it for a hammock. So here you can see, I've got a hammock set up. It's a homemade hammock. And what I did is you can see there's a kind of a center seam right here. Just lay that out so that the center seam is laying on your ridge line. And then I will go and just pull it up so it's more or less equidistant on each side. And I put a little clothespin. Actually, I'm using these little fabric pin alligator clip type things. So I use these, and I just clip it onto my suspension to keep it where I need it. And you can see there's pretty good little slack down there at the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll just mark on each side where I want to put my little attachment point. In this case, you can see I've got a little snake skin there, so I want it to go just about halfway on that snake skin. So I will find the actual center seam, and I'll just go ahead and put that on about halfway through right there. Okay, so that's where I'm going to want to put my little thing right there. That's where I'm going to put my little attachment system. I'm going to do the same thing on this side right here. You can see here's the center seam. I'm going to go about halfway through the snakeskin area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting a little strip underneath and on top here that will have a cord that will tie on, and I'll be able to cinch this around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a little, I have 4 pieces of cloth here. Choose the cloth of your choice. One cloth is going to go on the outside at that spot, going perpendicular. And the other cloth, I'm going to sew a channel in. So I'm just going to double it over and sew it down. And then I'm going to put this on one side of the mosquito net, then the mosquito net, and then this piece right here. And then I'm going to run a string that's going to go through right here. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, now what I've done is I've taken these strips here, and I've sewn a little tube here. You can see here I'm just finishing up. Okay, so now I've got my bug net in the sewing machine in position here. I went on so that the clip that's on the outside of the bug net is on the outside of the net here now. So I'm sewing the tube through the other strip. So the tube will be on the inside. And once I get this sewn, I'm going to sew down both lines. Then I can put a string in there. While it's still here in position, I'm going to go ahead and pull the pull some Zing-It through. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Pull a healthy amount through. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is tie a knot on the end of this Zing-It, and I'm just going to close up this channel a little bit so it's tighter. So this is what it looks like from the top. This part's going to be on the outside of the hammock. So you can see there's a channel here, and you can see that channel that I sewed up right there. It's a little bit narrower. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit narrower right there, so that when the knot gets pulled against it, it will stop. So here's the other side of it. See, there's just a channel here. You can see, there you go. So that just keeps it from Now, if I were a better sewer, I could probably sew that all the way down and leave a perfect line, but or maybe I could have used this little channel right here that was naturally formed. But I like this better, so that's what I did. I did the same thing on this side too. So the knot will stop it as well. Now I just need to turn it over and do it on the other end, and I'll be ready to hang it. So I'm done sewing with it. Now to deploy it, you just want to lay everything back on. Find that center seam right there. Get that over your ridge line. And then you're going to come over and find your handy little... well, that is not showing up well. Let me go over to this side. I think the light's better. Okay, so you're going to find your handy little sewing thing here, your little channel. You're just going to bring that to wherever you want it. Then you're going to reach underneath, and you're going to find those two things, the two strings, and you're just going to tie those together. I cannot do that and film at the same time. Okay, so you can see the finished product here. This is tied now, and let's see if I can get to focus a little better. So it's tied. You can see it kind of bunched up a little here. But now, if the bug nut wants to slide, it's going to hit this. It's going to hit that, and then it's not going to be able to go any farther. So what this does is just keep your bug nut in place. You can lay in it. It's not going to go anywhere. There's even along the ridge line here, there's a couple little ties inside here, so you can keep that thing centered pretty decently. And so there's one there. There's also one over here. So, and here's my other end. It's tied up. An easier way to get to this sometimes is just go ahead and get your piece on there, flip back the excess, and then you can just tie it right there. An alternate thing you can do, which I've been doing, is cutting off all this excess right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that also, but that's kind of optional. It'll totally work like this. You can see there's plenty of room down there, and everything will hang just fine. And now it's securely on. Minimal amount of required sewing or modification to the thing. So for $6, $7, these are supposedly used. I couldn't find anything wrong with them, just like some other guy in the forum said. $6 for this bug net. Can't go wrong. I mean, it's a fantastic deal. You got yourself a bug net. And now I'm thinking you could take the same principle and put some kind of overcover over this and do something similar. Easily attach something like a fleece blanket or some Momentum 90 fabric, whatever you got laying around, and it'll give you some wind and warmth. Maybe put something down on the bottom there too to keep it together. But as a bug net, this works fantastic so far. So here it is all cut down. Oh, that's a pretty decent little cutting job, I must say. This is about how much I cut off. You can see it's a fair amount. It's kind of the peak end. Little triangular shape to it. So I cut one of those off each end. This is a nice netting. I can use it for ridgeline organizer of some sort. But that's what it looks like, all put together. The only thing I don't like is that little Velcro stuff sack. It works, but I don't like Velcro. Stuff sticks to it, so I may change that out take that off and do an actual stuff sack. But you can see there's plenty of coverage down there. It has plenty of mosquito net to keep the bugs out. They're not going to get in there. And this is a double layer also, so they're not going to get in from the bottom either. If I'm worried about it, I can always take these ties and tie stuff together a little bit more. You can see the ties hang down there, so not a big deal. Fantastic little project.